Welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I'm your host, renowned sex and relationship coach Amanda Testa. And if you are looking to reclaim your sexual desire, take sex from a to-do to something you look forward to, and enjoy deeply connected relationships without adding more to your already full plate, then you are in the right place. Listen in to discover how to fan the flames of your feminine fire, fall in love with your sensual self again, and experience intimacy like never before, all in a way that feels really good to your system. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. Today we have a guest who is here to spark a radical conversation about the transformative power of kink. Faith Laux is on a mission to bring this taboo topic out of the shadows and show how, with the right approach, kink can be a potent path of feminine empowerment, of power, of pleasure. After her own journey through the fires of cancer, clarified what mattered most, Faith committed to living out loud and reclaiming her full erotic truth, which led her straight to the heart of kink. As a coach, she now guides others to embrace their desires and harness kink as a vehicle for embodied healing, aliveness, and deeply authentic intimacy. So if you are kink curious, get ready to open your mind and perhaps even discover a portal to your own uncharted depths of pleasure and power. Welcome, Faith. I am so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. That intro was absolutely delightful.
Yes, well, Faith and I actually had the pleasure of seeing each other too earlier this summer, which is amazing. And I have just been I love watching your journey unfold and just the powerful ways you weave together all your magic. So I'm curious for you, when it comes to living, pairing kink and embodiment and all the things, I'm curious, what have you learned from the world of kink that you are most excited to share? What is your passion around this right now?
Ooh. Oh, that's such a beautiful and big question. What am I most excited to share about the power of kink? Well, I'm just going to dive in at the start with the
Let's do it.
With the fullness, the full messiness, life in all of its unpredictable glory. So every single person listening to this podcast has faced challenges and hardships in their lives, and none of us are excluded. It's part of being human. And my hometown is Asheville, North Carolina, and we just experienced an unbelievable hurricane and catastrophe. And we're all processing and figuring out how to recover and how to best rebuild and survive. Like, it's a very survival place right now. And the emotions are huge. And you mentioned that I went through a cancer journey, and that's a similar sort of on a smaller scale, a hurricane of a health catastrophe. And when we have these big life moments of immense pain and grief and sorrow and fear, I don't think our society does a very good job of meeting those big waves and those big emotional feelings with effective tools to allow us to feel them and move through them and process them and digest them. And so what I'm excited about with the world of kink is actually its usefulness in somatic processing of big emotions.
Yes.
And it's sort of a surprising thing to pair together. I don't think that most people listening expected this to be the topic necessarily when you're talking about kink, you know what I mean? But it's so true. What kink is it's an opportunity for us to create these intense experiences for ourselves. And to create, when I say create intense experiences, I also mean to create intense experiences that are completely wrapped up in safety and consent, that we are clear and intentional about what we want to experience, what we want to explore, how we're going to get there with our partner. And then we, within that container of safety and consent and intention, we can let go and surrender. And I think that surrender and that just the full letting go, whether it's the letting go into orgasm or the letting go into sobbing or the letting go into shaking, whatever the letting go is, we're hungry for that. All of us are hungry for that. But not all of us are equipped to know how to create the conditions to be able to experience that. I can speak for myself and say that I expected my husband to just know how to do that and do it. When he didn't, I was resentful. And these are skills. These are skills that can be taught. And within the kink community and the BDSM community, there's just so many gifts that I have found that I'm like, excited to go to the top of the mountain and start sharing them because I think they're so amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because I know one of the big, huge components is creating a container of communication, of safety, of boundaries. I'm curious for you, how has that impacted you personally just with the experience of that? And also, what are the benefits of that you think everyone could learn from? I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the ability to create boundaries, to be clear on what you want, and then say yes to the things that feel like a yes and no to the things that feel like a no are life skills that should be taught developmentally throughout school, but it never really is. I didn't officially learn those things until I was in Layla Martin's Vita coaching program in a codified way, where there is this real focus on embodiment and what does your embodied yes feel like? How can we move towards that and create an abundant experience where our yes is honored and it gets to be amplified and emerged and experienced. And then when we feel that internal no, that internal something happens, to be able to communicate that too. And so within the world of kink, these are basic skills that I think people who have been in this community for a long time can take for granted. That it's just, you're a clear communicator. You go in with a play partner and you just, you have a negotiation, you say what you want, you ask questions, you kind of figure it out, you get the lay of the land, and then you do a scene, and then you have your aftercare, and it's like easy peasy. But for people who are not in the kink community, looking in from the outside, there's some interesting things. I feel like, there's a lot of misconceptions that it's somehow about punishment and pain and degradation. And some aspects of kink are about those things. But from what I have found, kink is what you want it to be. Kink is what you make it. Everybody's kinks are different. And so if you, like for me, I'll just speak for myself. I have a praise kink, otherwise known as words of affirmation are my love language. And same. I don't want to be degraded. I want to be affirmed. I want to be exalted, and that can exist in the world of kink. And to be able to learn these skills of clear communication, attunement to our own embodied yes and our embodied no, and then articulating that to our partner and having our partner hear it, ask questions, respect it, get the nuance of it, and then to be able to go and create a beautiful experience of play and exploration together. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
So powerful. I would love if you would share a little bit more about some of the misconceptions, because I know out there, there's a lot of taboo around this topic in a lot of society.
Yeah.
So, and I'm curious, maybe even for you, maybe what were some initial misconceptions or fears that you had going into it, and what did you learn?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning. I didn't consider myself kinky until my late 30s. And I had always loved sexuality my whole life. It was like my favorite thing to talk about when I was a teenager with my friend riding horses, growing up. Who did you kiss and what was it like and where was it and all the things. That was what I wanted to talk about. And I didn't grow up in a very, a household where sexuality was very shamed. It was, it was be safe, be knowledgeable, but it's not like you're sinning when you're having pleasure. And yet I still felt like a black sheep. I still felt like there was something off about what I liked and why. It didn't fit into the paradigm of a lot of my lovers or partners or boyfriends and then a husband ultimately. And I was listening to Jaya talk about the erotic blueprints, and I was fascinated by that notion that you could have sort of different personality types, introvert, extrovert, that kind of thing, thinker, feeler. You could have that for our erotic lives. And so she started describing the energetic, the sensual, the sexual. And I was like, oh, okay, that kind of fits me. I guess maybe, but And then when she described kinky as being turned on by the taboo, it was a mic drop moment. I was like, what? I belong? I'm turned on by the taboo. That's what gets me going. Oh my gosh, there's room for me. Like, I have a community I didn't even know about. And so that was the beginning of this journey. And it kind of spiraled into greater and greater depths as the years went on. And when I got cancer, I was really confronted with my own mortality and my own, the knowledge, like the embodied knowledge that I'm not going to be here forever. And so if I'm not going to be here forever, then how do I want to live while I am here? Oh, I want to experience some beautiful kinky shit. I want to have fun in this realm with people who also like having fun in this way. And my husband was not one of them. He is not a kinky man. He is an energetic, sensual blueprint. We are quite opposite on the spectrum. That's a conversation in and of itself. But, I started to dive deeper and to just unapologetically, give myself permission to want what I want and like what I like. And it was in communication with him, and so I was learning about things that I didn't even know existed, like FetLife, the community, the social networking community for kinky people. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that there were events that I could go to in my town that were simply social events that had nothing to do with sexuality. I had this mental image of full-on orgy sex parties, and that it was like all or nothing, black and white. You're either all the way in that world with no boundaries, or you're not in that world at all. And then to learn that there was a munch, a social gathering of a different, with different flavors, that those existed, I was like, sign me up. And so I started to go to these munches and these events as I was going through chemotherapy. And at my first event, I think it was like a kinky comedy show, I started to put the pieces together that kink did not necessarily mean sexual. And that was amazing too, because I'm in a monogamous marriage with someone who's not kinky. And now I'm getting this little piece of information that maybe I can have a kinky experience and not have to break any vows of monogamy with my husband. And so we talked about it. We talked about shibari and bondage and getting tied up. And would it be okay to invite this person who practices shibari out for tea, to get to know him, to see if he would be willing and open to tying me up, perhaps with some clothes on, and, negotiating that experience. And it was really just doing the next right thing and staying in contact with John all along the way to make sure that what I was asking for felt like not only a yes for me, but also a yes for him. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that kink is sexual. And if I have a play partner, then that means that I'm having sex with that play partner. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. We could be sensation play partners. We could be impact play partners. And so there's a number of people that I do scenes with where I can very clearly say, these are the boundaries. Don't touch me here. Please touch me in this way. And these are some of the emotions that I want to get out. This is what is going on for me in my life right now. I want you to help me have a cathartic experience and know that as I am allowing my grief to move, that's okay and I'm fine. And you're doing me a service.
Yes, yes. That's such a big point to mention, right? Because it's very much differentiated from sex and sexuality. In some ways, there's obviously places where it overlaps. But I'm curious, this is for you too. I'm wondering, I want to just share too. I love Jaya and the blueprints. They are amazing. And I know I use it a lot with my clients because it's so fun to explore these different aspects of ourselves. Like you're saying, like we don't always know what they are. And being able to realize like, oh, wow, this is me and this is my partner. And what are the ways we can come together or help each other express more of ourselves? And it's interesting because there usually is a little bit of all of them in all of us if we want to play that way, right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how you're creative. And that's the thing too. It's like bringing that creativity in to how to find the ways to get your needs met.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. As you say that, I'm like, well, ultimately, what I ended up doing was synthesizing my learns from this, really luscious and satisfying multi-year like deep dive into kink as an adult, and I created an online course for people because I think more people are interested in this kind of thing than we might realize. If 50 Shades of Grey is, any indication of it, in the popularity of shows on Netflix like Sex Life or How to Build a Sex Room. And I have just received so many blessings from being a part of this community that I wanted to sort of normalize it and give and teach people how to integrate all these different things into their lives if they're interested. It's called Kink Curious. I think play is a huge piece. Huge. And so there's so many people who are on the journey of taking sexuality out of the shadows, out of, the murky, muddy fields of shame that many of us are moving, like working to clear our systems of. And play is an antidote to shame, one of them. And, one of the modules is all about sensation play and impact play and being able to go around your house and find like with a different lens, look around and be like, that hanger over there, I wonder how it would feel to gently drag that hanger over my lover's body. And then play with flicking it and how does that feel? Do they like it? Do they not like it? Checking in with them. The kitchen is the best place to find objects like that. And we call them pervertibles in the world of kink, where you take something that's like an everyday household object, like a paintbrush, and you turn it into a sensation toy. And so I think, a lot of people also imagine when they think about the world of kink, they imagine like big, I don't know, fancy dungeons or something like I need to have a sex room in order to do this. You actually don't. You might just need to walk around your house for 7 minutes and grab some things and then go explore and play and have fun and be curious. And I think one of the biggest aspects of healing within the world of kink is the clear communication. I think that's what I often see my clients struggling the most with, is feeling afraid to say what they like and what they don't like, what they want more of and what they want less of, because there's been so many years of silence or of performing. So even maybe not just silence, but lying, pretending that you like something that you don't actually like. And so when you take these values from the world of kink, which is just we communicate honestly and openly and shame-free, and we put our desires on the table and we put our boundaries on the table, and then we play. I think that kind of clear, shameless communication is a game changer for people in their sexuality.
So true, because number one is being clear on what you want. So many people struggle with that. And it's so fun when you can figure that out for yourself. And it's even more fun when you can communicate it. And how exciting when someone's like, yes, thank you for telling me, right? We're not mind readers. And so often we, like you say, you might have had years where you're like, oh, all right, go along. And I think that's a challenge, especially in long-term relationships, right? Which is why really taking the time and making it a play, making it an exploration is so key in keeping things fun and exciting, because I really do feel like sex is how adults play. Yes. And it can be used for so many things, right? Healing, play, connection, spirituality, all the things, right? And we just have to allow ourselves to play
I mean, I'm feeling glittery and lit up just hearing you talk. I'm like, preach, woman.
Yes. Hey, it's Amanda. If you are enjoying the show and felt a connection to what we've discussed, and you're ready to take the next step in reigniting your passion and enhancing your relationships, I have something special for you. Visit www.amandatesta.com/thegoods, where you can subscribe to my email. And if you want, you can sign up for a free personalized sensuality discovery session with me. In this one-on-one, heart-to-heart session, we'll explore your unique desires, uncover any challenges, and set a path for you to experience the vibrant, fulfilling love life you deserve. Don't let another day pass feeling unfulfilled or disconnection. Take action now, and let's start this beautiful journey together to fire up your feminine fire. Join me at amandatesta.com/thegoods. I'm excited to stay connected. Now back to the show. But we were talking about this before we started, because when you really do the deeper work to use and learn how sexuality or expressing yourself in that way can be so healing, it really goes so deep, right? Like it can get to the core of things that are really hard to reach in other areas. Mm-hmm. I'm curious your thoughts about that, because I know we were talking about it a bit before we started.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir on that one with me. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And I think my husband is a multi-decades long meditator. And, you know, he and I are very much opposites in many ways. And for me, sexuality and long pleasure sessions is a meditation. It's a spiritual act. This is not simply just a hedonistic, pleasure fest. It's a both and. And when when Layla Martin talks about pleasure and self-pleasure being an active form of meditation, when I heard her say that for the first time, there was something in me that just relaxed. It was like, thank you. Because I'm not a sit still and meditate kind of woman. And so to have a practice in my life that feels like it allows me to connect to something bigger than me and to turn that incessant chatter in my mind either off or on quiet is a gift. It is an absolute gift. And in the world of kink, one of the interesting experiences that can happen is what we call subspace and dom space. And it's an altered state. It's an altered state of consciousness that we go to when we're in the middle of a scene. And some lingo here is you've got a dom and a sub, or a top and a bottom, or a leader and a follower. You can take your pick as to what word feels, which pairing feels best to you. I'll use top and bottom here. The top is guiding the scene. They're the ones who are actively, creating the experience. And the bottom is the one receiving. The one who is, at the beginning has stated very clearly in the negotiation, this is what I desire. This is what I do not desire. This is what I want to play with. And this is how I want to play. And once we have that safe container created as the bottom, we can just focus on being present in the here and now, in our bodies, in our experience, in our emotions, allowing whatever is so to just flow through us. And the states of consciousness that you can go to in that kind of a space are profound. I mean, they very much for me feel almost psychedelic. Like they're akin to a psilocybin journey for me. And there's, literally to the point of seeing beautiful geometric patterns in my mind's eye and colors sort of like fractaling out. And yet no drugs are involved, which is another sort of amazing, thing that is available within this world. And that is a form of meditation. It's a beautiful thing. And for the person on top, the person who's giving, you get into this flow state, this state of deep attunement with your partner, with yourself. And what an act of love to be that attuned to the person that you're with and giving them exactly what they want and feeding them in the exact way that they're looking for.
So powerful. Again, preaching to the choir here. I love it so much because it is so powerful, right? When we can get into these altered states as well, it is so healing for our nervous system. And like you say, people have different roads into it. Mm-hmm. But getting there, and that's the beauty of these types of practices where you can achieve that type of thing. You don't even have to do any psychedelics, right? You're just high on your own goodness, your own sexual energy, your own experience. And I'm pretty sure that there was some recent research around how our ability to create those states in ourselves has been studied, and that we can actually create these states of healing and expansion and spiritual awakening, and also just opportunities for your brain to integrate in new ways. Like so many things that it can happen in these states.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think that there's, you and I are trained in somatic sexuality coaching, which is different from cognitive sexuality coaching. And when we involve the body in our healing, whether it be through, a guided embodiment journey or a kink scene with the intention of healing, I think it's a way, it expedites and accelerates healing. It's an accelerator. A scene, a beautiful, well-executed scene with somebody can create transformation beyond what many, many, many weeks of other kinds of therapy can do.
So if someone is curious and they're unsure where to start, what would be some first steps you would share with them, if they want to start exploring this realm?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would love to invite them into Kink Curious, which is a program that is designed specifically for people who feel that yearning to explore this world, to get to know what's possible in a safe way. This isn't just about learning how to spank. Yes, I'll teach you how to spank and spank well. But bigger than that is, what energy are you spanking into your partner? What energy are you using this impact play to move, either to move out or to move in? And I think, it can feel a little bit daunting to be like, whoa, where do I start? Whoa. And I will say, FetLife is an amazing social networking website that exists that people could, create a profile there. And I talk about this in module 9 when I talk about the wider world of kink and connecting and creating and curating an erotic community, because there's a lot of us that exist where our partners are not kinky, and yet we still want to explore. And so it's really finding the ways in which we can, if we want to stay in the relationship that we're in, to negotiate with clarity and consent, with integrity, the boundaries of what we're going to be able to do when we begin to engage with other people. And FetLife is a phenomenal way to start to get to know other people and events in your area, especially if you live in a metropolis, if you live in a city. You are likely surrounded by kinky events that you don't even know are happening. And you get to check them out. Sometimes there's private events that you need to be invited personally by somebody who's part of that community to be involved with. And I will say, a caveat about FetLife is it's kind of like the Wild West. It's like Facebook with no regulations. So be prepared to see things you might be surprised to see. I think I went on there the first time and my inner child was like, whoa, this is way too much, Faith. Whoa. But it was hard for me to shut it down and stop going down the rabbit hole, because I was just like, what is this? this person, because everybody has a profile and they can include pictures and videos and all the things. And like some profiles are a lot. And so know your limits, know your boundaries, check in with your body as you go in.
Yes.
And make sure that you are staying in your zone and your window of tolerance.
Yeah.
Because I think that for many people, they might jump on there and be like, great, let's go, let's do this. And then all of a sudden, whoa, like just beware. It is the Wild West. It is unregulated. You need to regulate yourself well.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, some of the things like Faith mentioned before, just maybe even starting by being curious. As you walk through your house, what's that like? Maybe being curious what aspects of this might feel fun for you to explore, right? Maybe it is the impact play. Maybe it's sensation play. Maybe it's psychological play. Maybe, there's so many different ways you can play in this realm. And maybe being curious, like, for me, what might feel taboo that might push my edges that I might want to just explore? It does, because everybody's is different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the key thing about it. It's like anything that's outside, anything that is in the realm of taboo for you, that is what kink is, right? In a lot of ways too, right? So it's like exploring, what is that?
Yeah.
And what ways feel safe enough for you to dip your toes in as you take the walk. And then you get, see what you like. If you like something, go down that road. If you don't, be like, okay, that's a learning experience. I'm going to take a different turn here, right?
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
This can also be a solo play experience.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it as if you're partnered, and you might not be. And it is entirely possible for you to have a glorious kinky experience all by yourself. It takes more work, it takes more attention, but it is very possible and can be very satisfying.
And I think you shared this too, because if your partner is not open or interested, how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
And so you mentioned some ways around that, but is there anything else you would share in that realm? Or like you would want to have this conversation with your partner, but you're, not sure how they would react? Like, how would you approach it?
Yeah. Yeah. Two very good questions. The first thing I would say is safety. Like, we need to create a sense of safety beginning inside of ourselves. Like, it is safe for me to want what I want. It is safe for me to like what I like. I give myself permission to like this and to want this. And I belong with these desires. I am okay. And from that place of internal safety and internal acceptance, we can then come to our partners and say, hey, this is a really vulnerable conversation. And create conditions of safety for yourself within this conversation. Like, hey, babe, I want to have a really vulnerable conversation with you. When do you think would be a good time to do that? Let them decide. Let them co-create this intimacy with you. And okay, so now you have this beautiful time and space dedicated for a vulnerable conversation. Then you go into the conversation. This is really hard for me. I've carried a lot of shame around this particular topic for a very long time, and I'm ready to let it go and to loosen it up and begin to heal this. And I want to tell you about XYZ. And this is what I need from you. I need you to just listen. I need you to listen with love and acceptance or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, you get to ask for exactly what you want. Yeah. And I will say also that this is an iterative experience. Often when we have these hidden desires, we've been holding on to them for a very long time. We have been fantasizing about them for years or decades in secret. And they're often wrapped in shame. And so shame is sort of the shadow of the kinky experience. And so for us to be able to to begin to soften that shadow and that shame with love and acceptance is a big deal. And another thing that comes to my mind in this realm of how to have a kinky, like a satisfying kinky life, an experience when our partner is not quite on board, is really, again, creating conditions of safety on your own. So I remember when I was training to do the Vita coaching with Layla Martin, we had a lot of self-pleasure practices that we had to do on a weekly basis and a lot of sexual healing. And so I had to create a safe space in my house and set context for my husband. I'm going to go do a pleasure practice for an hour. Please don't interrupt me. And that just became normal. I remember at the beginning, I felt really embarrassed. Like, I'm going to be doing this thing. Can you please not disturb me? I'm a little embarrassed. But then it just became totally normal. And to have that safety, knowing that he was not going to walk in on me, doing whatever it was that I was doing mattered, and it allowed me to go deeper. And so if somebody is like, okay, I want to have a kinky experience by myself, I want to like curate this beautiful sensual exploration on my own, you need a safe space to do that. And so you do need to ask for what you want if you're living with someone else, and create conditions of safety. Safety is the foundation of all great sexual experiences. And safety is the foundation upon which we can build these exquisite, divine, mind-altering, body-exploding, spirit oneness experiences. Without safety, it's hard to get anywhere.
So true. Yes. This has been such an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Faith. I love this topic so much. It's so fun. And I also think too, just what you were mentioning earlier, if your partner brings something to you, or if you want to bring something to your partner, really holding their shares with care and never, ever bring anything up in a way that would be considered a fight or negative ever, because that will breach trust like no other. And so it's a really brave thing to bring these things forward. And there also can be a lot, like you say, the tenderness and the shame. And then even when you play things out the first time, there might be a lot of we talk about the expansion and the contraction. Then afterwards, there could be the shame spiral. So it's really like learning to be there and hold each other through these things. And there's such depth that can happen through that, right? Because if you can just imagine, I would assume that if you are in a caring partnership and your partner's been holding something that they really want for a long, long time, and they share that with you, it's like a very gift into understanding them more.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to do everything that they want to do, but could you just be open to holding that as a part of who they are and loving that? Because it's so exquisite. I mean, I really think that people, they put so much pressure. I think this is just the culture of shame we live in, but it's just really caring for, and that trust that was there for them to share with you in the first place. It's just so tender and beautiful.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that, to kind of close out this conversation, there's one important factor or one important pillar in the world of kink that really needs to be talked about if we're going to open up this can of worms over the course of a podcast. That's aftercare. And so if I had to sort of simplify kink into 3 chapters or 3 parts, there's the negotiation, there's the scene, and there's the aftercare. And aftercare is important whether you decide to do anything kinky or not. Aftercare is for people who would consider themselves vanilla. Aftercare is for everybody. And it's especially important within kink because you are intentionally creating scenes of intensity and catharsis. And so if you can imagine, after having this big emotional cathartic experience, what do you want? You want to be held. You want to be told that you are beautiful, that you are lovable, that you belong, that all of you is welcome. You want to be reminded to get grounded and to come back to this reality, into this body, and to be empowered to remember that you have everything you need. You are a powerful, sovereign individual. And aftercare, I think, is another one of those things in society that gets overlooked. We forget that we need nurturing after intense experiences. And even just a simple sexual experience can be intense, whether it's kinky or not. And so to be able to know and to weave in these practices of making sure that we're perhaps wrapped up in a robe, or we take a nice warm shower, or we, whatever the thing is, we drink water and we have some food, we have connection and eye contact if you're with a partner. But to be able to integrate a big experience, you need aftercare. And I think one of my favorite new things that I say, and it came to me, especially on our retreat in Costa Rica, we would have these, breathwork experiences where you really go out there, and these experiences can take you places, far away places, and deep down inside of your entrails and your ancestry places. And, your team did an amazing job of creating space and time to integrate, really soft music after an intense breathwork practice. And the soft music, it wasn't just one song. It was multiple songs. And then the soft music would end and it would be silent. Not just for like 3 minutes. I don't know. You probably know exactly how long you were supposed to hold the silence for. But for me, as a participant and as a facilitator of a partner in that experience, I just felt so well held by that integration and by the invitation to say, check in with yourself. What do you need in this moment? What would feel nurturing for you? Now you get to ask for it. Oh, integration is the new black.
Love that so much. I'm just like chills. Yes, people like to skip that part. It's the most important part.
It is. It is. And that's where I think we get into the realm of sexuality and healing. This is just hedonism.
Yeah.
Like, great. We can all get our rocks off. Wonderful. Let's do it. But I mean, I'm a fan of the multi-layered. Yeah. Let's do it and let's use it to heal.
Yeah. And there's the consciousness you bring to it, which makes all the difference in the world. That makes such a, it's a different experience.
Over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, can you just share with everyone a little bit more about where to find you? And if they're interested in learning more, I'll make sure to put all the links in the comments. In the show notes. Hello. Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Faith Laux, and you can find me on Instagram at Faith Laux and my website, faithlaux.com. And I am currently, doors are open for Kink Curious right now. And I'm so excited about it, Amanda. I'm excited because I see the transformative possibilities of this world and of being able to integrate these tools and these abilities into what it is that you do and how you play.
Thank you so much again. And I'll make sure to put all that information for everyone who wants to connect. And also I wanted just to name too, because I think this is really generous that you're offering a portion of all of the sales to go to the Asheville recovery, which is so beautiful. And I'm just sending you all so much love too, as you just continue to navigate that. Will be, a long journey, and sending you all so much love.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's so good to be connected to you, and I can't wait to meet you in one way or another.
Yes, we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you loved this episode, please go ahead and forward it right now to someone you know would love it. And if you've not had a chance yet to leave us a rave review on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to rate and review if you enjoyed it, as well as make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to stay connected, make sure to go to amandatesta.com/thegoods to download your free sensuality activation and stay connected. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.